Record voter turnout. Rex Democrats Jim Crow 2.0 lies about Georgia election integrity law. They don't. I wonder why. I wonder why Democrats don't want people to show their ID to prove who they say they are to vote in elections. And then when they would say, oh, people can't afford licenses and IDs and things like that. But in most states, for people that can't afford it, most states pay for the identification. So that's not a legitimate excuse. I've been saying that for years, and now we have actual evidence, actual proof that it does not mess up voter turnout. It's shown in Georgia. Georgia has record number of early voting and stuff like that. Even with this election integrity law. So we knew it was a lie. We knew it was just we knew it was a way for them to not have people checked and make sure they say who they really prove who they really are. So we're gonna talk a little bit about it, but before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also check out my link tree in the description. Has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's talk about this news. Now, this comes from the Federalist from Brianna Lyman, and she reports that, quote, this is Jim Crow in the 21st century, President Joe Biden said in 2021. Quote, these blatantly unconstitutional efforts are nothing less than Jim Crow 2.0, failed gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams said. Quote, this is Jim Crow 2.0, South Carolina Rep. James Clyburn said. That's how Democrats describe Georgia's Election Integrity Act of 2021, which expanded voting opportunities and added a requirement for voters to show IDs in order to receive an absentee ballot. Again, nothing wrong with that. You need an ID for almost everything that you do in this country. So what is wrong with you having to show ID to vote? Their deliberately false and inflammatory rhetoric set off a flurry of criticism from major corporations, activists, and members of the propaganda press. But the Peach State is once again seeing record high voter turnout as the state begins its early voting period. And, you know, I talked about the study that was done prior to this law. I think it was by Harvard, talking about people's rights. It was a study, I think it was Harvard. I'm pretty sure it was Harvard that said that showing IDs doesn't harm anyone, basically what the study said. And this, again, is more evidence, more proof to that fact. There's no one being held back by having to show their ID. But Chief Operating Officer for Georgia's Secretary of State Office, Gabe Sterling, reported that more than 328,000 early voters and absentee votes have been cast on the first day of early voting, Tuesday, breaking past records. Here's the data. Here's the data right here showing that. In fact, some voters told CNN it was far more easy to vote this go round than in past cycles. Quote, last time I voted in the city and the lines were out the door. Corrine Canada, a black woman, told CNN. They only had maybe 3 people working. And so people honestly just started leaving because it was like that. Yeah, this is too long. I can't sit here and wait. I have to go back to work. But here, no, it was easy. But surely that can't be true. We were reliably informed by Coca-Cola's chief executive, James Quincy, in 2021 that the legislation, quote, makes it harder for people to vote, not easier. And what does Coca-Cola has to do with voting? You know what I'm saying? They need to just, people like that, companies like this just need to stay out of it. But Delta Airlines chief executive Ed Bastain also claimed that, quote, bill includes provisions that will make it harder for many underrepresented voters, particularly black voters, to exercise their constitutional right to elect their representatives. This is one of the most racist things I've ever heard. Black people haven't figured out how to get an ID. You know, when we got to go to the liquor store, we got to show our ID when we cash our checks. We got to show our ID. Like, this is the most racist things I ever heard, that black people can't figure out how to go get an ID. Business executives selling their souls to the woke mob wasn't enough for members of the propaganda press, however, with Axios releasing a report decrying corporations that, quote, could have spoken up earlier when the law was being considered or before the governor signed the law. But this type of rhetoric from the left was nothing more than feigned outrage designed to fearmonger and stoke division. It's why 70-year-old Patsy Reed, a black woman, told the Washington Post she was shocked as just how easy it was to vote during the 2022 primaries after the left tried to convince her that Republicans would, quote, deter us in any way possible from voting. Quote, I had heard that they were going to try to deter us in any way possible because of the fact that we didn't go Republican on the last election when Trump didn't win, Reed said. To go in there and vote as easy as I did, and to be treated with the respect that I knew I deserved as an American citizen, I was really thrown back. Reed was, quote, really thrown back because she had heard from the left day in and day out that the legislation was going to suppress her right to vote. Again, I talked to you about the Harvard study that said there is no voter suppression. But the left and its media allies knew the legislation was never an attack on anyone's voting rights, let alone black voters in particular. And Georgia's day of record high voting is a damning indictment on their insidious lies. So get this information out, talk so we can kill that stupid propaganda, those lies that black people won't be able to figure out how to get an ID and vote. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.